stretched thin trying to get ready.
And we are live. Let's play the intro.
Yeah.
And we're back. 5 minutes late. That's okay.
Yeah.
Totally okay. Not that you didn't cause confusion by retweeting a week old message on LinkedIn.
Honestly, I need like somebody to teach me how to use social media again from like square one. Like I just want somebody to come to me and be like, William, this is how a feed works. Like
At some point we're gonna set a time and stick to it.
Yep.
That will come when we get LinkedIn Live approval.
That's the magic.
Whenever that fine day comes, which
the magic moment. Yeah.
The way it's looking, I have no idea, but you know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Derek says good afternoon. Cameron says good evening. And Martin says, well, good morning, I guess, technically. So good afternoon, good evening, and good morning.
We really have the whole time zone set represented there. It's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. We got some good topics today though, Paul, right? We had a shorter actual podcast this week. So we have a bunch of, I think, kind of bonus lingering items that we can go through in some depth tonight. So it should be fun. I
would argue probably we have too much. Like it was a relatively good news week. If you take out all the like Dr. Disrespect,
which we're not
news.
Sorry to disappoint you guys. We're not gonna. We love the doc, you know, from an entertainer standpoint. We don't want to wade into any controversy or speculation. There's nothing to be gained. So, no doc news from us, unfortunately.
I will say though, if it ends up being some business reason that he was banned, we most definitely will dive into it. Should that come to light?
I hope that's what it is. You know, to be honest with you, I'd much rather have heard that Doc was building his own streaming network than something that, you know, was maybe more, you know, how to describe it, that had less of a positive implication to it, you know?
Yeah. Derek says, was there an official reason released? No. Yeah. In fact, no one has said anything, which, you know, leads me to believe it's got to be like, it's got to be something pretty serious.
Yeah, but
when no one's talking.
Yeah, let's all hope, you know, it's a business reason because that's better for everybody. That's better for Doc. That's better for the fans. That's better for the business, you know, but I think this is one of the things, just in my experience, don't speculate, don't consider, just put it aside. Stuff will come to light and we'll hope it's, you know, stuff that is, you know, I hope there's a business. I would like nothing more than to hear that this is about a super secret streaming network that's launching that Doc is, you know, laying the groundwork for. So we'll see.
No, but in general, I think this is always going to be our stance on things, which is, you know, we will never make this political. We will never make this rumor mongering. We will never make this, you know, an outlet for those kinds of things. This is really, let's dissect the business implications behind things, and let's talk about the business behind things. And I think that will always be our DNA, and it'll always be the line we stick to. Yeah. Regardless of how sensational something is or how much attention it's getting.
Not People Magazine here, unfortunately. Even though it has a wide circulation, there's other news outlets you can go to for celebrity gossip.
That's it. So sorry if that disappointed anyone, because I know we had a couple of tweets aimed at us saying, "Oh my God!" Like 1 week Mixer shuts down, the next week Doc gets permabanned. Like,
I know.
But the Mixer thing we could talk about because it's a business decision and we understood what was going on there. And in fact, we talked about it on the podcast this week. We were both ended up being totally correct.
How did that one happen? We both got it right.
Which was interesting. All the analysts basically copied my blog post and spit it out as their statements. And then all of a sudden the next day or 2 days later, the announcement from Tencent came out, which was interesting, which we talk about on the podcast this week, which was fun. There was some good insight there in terms of what Tencent might do with a streaming platform of their own. And the more I think about it, William, like even after the podcast, after I had some time to think about it, I'm going, man, this could be scary.
Yeah, the Tencent thing is, and like I said, it's one of those things that's not scary until it's scary. Like when Disney first announced they were launching a streaming service, nobody really cared, right? They were thinking, oh, the rights are sewn up with us at Netflix. It's 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. It matters when you pull the content. I'm telling you, it matters when you pull the content, and they could do it. And I think if you're making that level of large scale investments in streaming and media platforms in China and in game developers, you have to believe that there's a reason beyond diversification for deploying that much capital and acquiring ownership and controlling percentages. And I think it's in the name control, right? If you're controlling a controlling percentage, you're doing it because you want some control in the business. And this would seem like a very good thing, maybe the best thing to leverage that control to do. So it's coming, guys.
I mean, it was funny because I just out of curiosity flipped over to Twitch and their browse page, right? And you look at all the games being played and how many are being streamed, like by how many streamers, how many viewers, etc.
Yeah.
Like if you start knocking off the ones that are Tencent owned, like the games that are owned by Tencent basically, or publishers that are mostly owned by Tencent, like basically Twitch is left with just chatting.
Yeah.
It becomes the just chatting and the art channel and some what do you call it? The people who do like the ASMR.
Yeah. There's like it's let's put it this way: it's not an Amazon investable business if the games get pulled. But this is a great segue,
right? That is kind of where Justin TV started, wasn't it? Not games. It was more the just chatting style.
24-hour live stream.
That's it.
As we learned from the chapter of my book, what is it? The revolution will be televised. I forget what I called it.
So Twitch might end up going full circle thanks to Tencent.
Well, it's ironic because the whole thing is in the early days, nobody cared. Like it was great PR that somebody was broadcasting their life online, but like nobody actually wanted to watch it. I think that's very telling. And by the way, for a while, Twitch was just a separate thing from Justin TV, right? They thought it was going to be like a large subvertical, and then Twitch bought the original and subsumed it. Live streaming is good for games for a whole bunch of different reasons, but it's good for games, and it's not so good for all the stuff that would be left if Tencent pulled their IP.
Martin says, who else would tie in obscure game references to gossip but William? It's true.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that from Slasher. You can bet that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's only one source for useless.
What is Tencent umbrella that they could pull? Top few that you guys think. What do they own? Well, League. Valorant right off the bat. Most
Epic
obvious
games.
All the Activision Blizzard. All the Epic. So Fortnite goes, Overwatch goes, Call of Duty goes. I mean, that's like half of your top 10 right there.
Yeah, there's a website I found that just lists all the Tencent investments. It's terrifying. Like, I want to see if I can find it again. It's just the list is just insane what they put money into. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And it's large ownership stakes too.
It's not like insignificant.
Yeah. It's not like it's like it's like I think the smallest amount they own in everything is Vivendi Universal, which is Activision Blizzard, and there it's still like 10%, I think, of the business. It's pretty huge.
I mean, the reality is if they start pulling properties off of Twitch, like it may start slow, right? Like it may be that to push Valorant, like they use Valorant or something to pump up Trovo initially, it's the only place to come watch Valorant to test the waters there. But that's a slippery slope. Like that doesn't end well for Twitch.
It is, yeah. It's like it's just I have to wonder. It's weird, and it's actually why. Let's tie this back to the news. But that Amazon are we covering this? I forget that Amazon's Crucible.
Yeah, we are covering this. You want to start there? I was going to end there. You want to start there?
I was going to start there because it's tied to this topic, which is so how does Amazon stop this? They make their own games, right? Because they have to control the content at the source. What does it not seem like they're good with? They're not good at making their own games because they decided to launch Crucible, and it's been the absolute worst case out. I don't think you can argue that there is a worst case outcome for a game, right? Because they launch it too early, and now they have to pull it back into beta.
Has this ever happened, William? Can you think of a time? So let me just present it here. So this is an article from Windows Central. As usual, I always post the links in the chat, guys, if you want to follow along. And basically what they're saying, Amazon's decided to pull Crucible. It's going back into closed beta, and they're going to continue working on the game essentially. So they admit it wasn't that good, and we're going to continue working on it. I don't think I've ever seen this ever.
The only other time I've seen this is with the Final Fantasy MMO. Which one it is, the Final Fantasy 14 MMO, where they released it. It was a disaster, and they totally remade the game and gave the new game away to the existing user base. That's the only other time I've seen this. Yeah, this is, and like I said, this is the worst of all worlds. That's
still a little bit different, right? That's fundamentally not releasing a game, taking it back.
Yeah.
And I guess the plan is to obviously to re-release it. They're not just going to shutter it.
But then
they're going to continue working on it.
I don't understand the strategy at all, because everything about the game is tainted, right? You only get one bite at the apple.
See, that's what I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that true?
Look, do you ever care about something the second time it releases? You know, I think Amazon, look, obviously they're spending the same number of resources on the title as if they'd kept it in closed beta, right? So there's no resource of it. This is the same cost as if they just realized the game wasn't ready and continued to bake it. They've given up the first launch. They've given up the
which they didn't put much effort into, which we agree.
But still, they released the game. You can't take that back, right? They've given up on the mystique of the Amazon studio, right? Because their first game they pushed out was bad, right? Doesn't matter if they've taken it back and tried to undo it. Now we know Amazon can release bad games, right? And, the other thing is, at the end of the day, is like, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but if there was a clear path to get the game better quicker, why did it launch in the first place, right? It's either you had terrible management that, just was rushing something out when clearly it should have been held, or there really is no plan to fix the game. The game has some pretty fun, and the review I like the most about the Crucible is the Skill Up review, which basically said this feels like a game that needed another year. I think that's the proper consensus why it goes back. But if you had that plan, if you had games devs had known what you were doing, why? How to describe this? Why did you launch it in the first place? If there had been a clear plan to make the game a lot better and a cost benefit analysis, hopefully someone would have done that in the company and said, let's hold it,
Okay. But the past is the past, right? We can live in the past and say, why did they release it? It was too early. Maybe some guy in marketing said, hey, COVID's here. We'll get way more people playing the game because everyone's got lots of time. Who knows, right? They released it early. Mm-hmm. They didn't put much effort around the launch. So it doesn't seem like there's huge sunk costs here that they're throwing out. I kind of like this. I didn't try the game the first time around. I don't know if you did. I am going to try it when it comes back out as a consequence of this. If nothing else than to see if this works. I feel like it creates a narrative that's interesting. I don't see the downside here. I like that they have the guts to try this.
Yeah, fine. I mean, yeah, it's nice that they believe enough in the game that they're willing to, rather than do what most publishers do when they launch a dud and cross it off, they're willing to go back and fix it.
Here's the question, William. Here's the question, right? Sorry to cut you off here, but here's the question.
Yep.
The Star Wars, right?
Yep.
Okay. Episode 8, which we both really loved, right? We were just huge fans of.
The best movie of all time. Rian Johnson's vision, flawless. The casino planet, completely necessary plotline tying directly into the main narrative thrust.
Okay, so hold on. So imagine if Disney, right, 2 months after release of this kind of feedback, says, hold on, guys, we're gonna fix it. Okay. So we're going to take the movie off this, you can't go watch the movie anymore. We're pulling it from the theaters. We're going to work on the movie. We're going to come back with episode 8 that actually makes sense. Okay? You're telling me you wouldn't go see the new episode 8? Of course you would.
Paul, are you
don't get one crack at it.
Are you absolutely kidding me here? Because this is news, right? Are you serious?
No, what?
I'll post the link in the private chat to you right now, and you can post it publicly if you want. This is so the Star Wars, sorry guys, not Business of Esports. You have to deal with it, Paul and other stars. The Star Wars rumor mill is blowing up that because the trilogy was so bad, Disney is going to reboot and reshoot the sequel, the episode 7, 8, and 9.
I don't know about this rumor, but
can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I think, look, knowing very little about this, it seems pretty credible. I think the leaker's credible. The lore implementation of it is credible. I do think it's true that Disney's stuck with a franchise they know they've dealt damage to. I'm not saying they would do it, but if you actually read the article, this does not sound that far-fetched. I mean, it would be the far-fetched part of it is that Disney admits they screwed up this badly. Can
we get back to the point though? And the analogy here, which is Amazon has admitted they screwed up really badly.
Yep.
They're saying we're going to go back and we're going to redo it. How can you not give them credit for that? How can you not say that's probably the best business decision? Well, just business decision only. Instead of leaving it to languish and then shut it down after 2 years, 3 years of work into that game, you have to admit they have enough belief in the game that it can be fixed. You always question their belief in the game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. I mean, I just I first of all, two things. One, do you really want to live in a world, and this is not that this particular choice is right or wrong, but imagine the implications of this. If we as consumers normalized publishers launching games that were unfinished and then taking them back into beta. Do you really want to live in a world where every time a publisher's rushing to crunch for a deadline, they're like, let's just release it and see if they think it's good enough. If it's not, we can rebeta it. It's fine. They really care when we release it from beta the second. Like, it's bad for the industry. There has to be a standard around the consumer. And because we're in a digital product and it can change instantly, there is, a weird fluidity here. But in my mind, it's not good for the industry if publishers can just launch games whenever they feel like that. And if it was too early, take it back, right? There needs to be some standard of quality that's being enforced on the publisher side. That's one problem. Yeah, you're right, Paul. It must speak to the fact that they believe this game can work if it's given more time. I just have to tell you, I'm
going to post the straw poll because I actually am curious.
Are we going to work?
What our viewers and our listeners think about Crucible here. I'm curious if we're on Team Paul, we're on Team William, or the third option I put was what's Crucible? Like you just have no idea what's going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if 100% of the respondents pick that option. That was.
Derek says, is this good foreshadowing that they'll listen to consumer feedback and make improvements? I think Amazon has a good track record of that in general, in their business in general.
Yeah.
That they apply it to games seems promising.
Yeah.
That's the dream episode 8 redo.
Yeah,
we all dream about it.
We all want it. Although I gotta be honest, I think I'd rather have an episode 9 redo at this point. 9 was harder for me.
Really?
Yeah, 9 was harder for me.
No, 8 was definitely harder for me. After 8, anything seemed like an improvement.
I mean, let's be honest here, right? It's not like we're choosing between two great options.
No.
This isn't, do you want $1 million in cash or $1 million in gold bullion? This is like they're both pretty. But anyway, yeah, we got it.
Let's move on, William. Let's move on. Let's talk about, because we actually have quite a bit to dive into here. And this story was big. The fact that we didn't get to it,
pretty crazy.
Kind of crazy. But this is Discord raising $100 million. Plans to move beyond gaming. Users wanted this change, the company says, which is the most probably untrue and disingenuous subheadline I think I've ever read. Because somehow I don't think Discord users were sending feedback like, please make this not about gaming.
Well, the other thing, like, not to be a total but and this was, I was in a chat when this news broke and somebody posted, which it was great. It was like, oh man, guys, did you know you can use Discord voice chat to talk about something other than legal? Like, the product already worked for all the other use cases. Like, it was a voice chat software. Paul and I use it to talk about business all the time. It already worked for that, right? I'm unclear like what needs to change. And I'm obviously over dramatizing here, but like what, you don't have to build a new product to serve a different category here. This is voice chat software. It already serves the voice chat market, you know.
I worry about this kind of news. So the CEO comes out and says games are what brought many of you on the platform and will always be grateful of that. As time passed, a lot of you realized and vocalized that you simply wanted a place designed to hang out and talk in the comfort of your own communities and friends. Your place to talk is the new tagline for Discord, which I get, right? Well, it's not a bad ambition. I think Discord is pretty well set up to achieve something like that. It just feels like they could have really owned the game space in a much deeper level before going wide, right? They didn't go nearly as deep as I thought they could.
Yeah, well, that's because you have to look at, I think what happened here business-wise is they did their last capital round, and it was all about how we're going to monetize gaming users, right? We're going to sell them games, Discord Nitro, and gamers didn't. Turns out, what do you want in your chat client? Free, low system use, right? That means you don't want a lot of features, and you don't want to have to pay to get access to the features because you don't need that many. So they couldn't monetize the market. So now where do they go from here? I do think it's kind of smart because Facebook is seeding the younger social, media demographic. And maybe this is the start of them becoming a new type of social media business for a younger consumer. Like that could work, but
it's missing a lot to get there.
Like every single piece of social media functionality.
This felt a little bit like, let's appease investors who can write $100 million check, but don't really understand the space that they're investing in.
Yeah.
And so we have to be bigger. We have to be, because now Zoom is the hottest thing in tech, right? Yep. We have to be the next Skype or the next Zoom. This is in my mind, Discord's ambition with maybe a bit more of a community focus. Yeah. And I think that leaves them open to an attack on from a more gamer focused alternative, right? Like already, I know I speak for myself. Like I've been playing around with Gilded. It's pretty awful. Yeah, it's actually horrible. The software is terrible. Yep. It's clunky. It's pretty hot garbage, but it has features that Discord doesn't have. Just doesn't have at all. And I think because Discord didn't go deep, they may lose that market long term.
Yeah. And someone sent me a list. There's like a whole bunch of these chat applications now. I've just been frustrated with Discord because the UI isn't great. I've thought for 5 years the UI isn't great.
And do you really see big companies going, hey, we're not going to use Zoom, we're going to use Discord?
I don't know what I see here other than they couldn't stay a gamer only application and continue to scale. And you're right, probably.
See, that's where I disagree. Yeah, they could have.
Well, no.
There's a lot they could have done.
Yes. Sorry, I shouldn't say. I think they believed, or their investors believed, that they couldn't stay gamer focused and succeed. Whereas I agree. The real opportunity here, I think, is dig in and own the gaming market. If you have 100, because you don't have 100 million users, you have 100 million gamers, right? Yeah. What's easier to sell to $100 million gamers, gaming things or anything else? Like I can tell you the clues in the name of the user type you have. It's weird to me. And the truth is, I do think once you go up against the more corporate clients, like as much as I do hate the large portion of my life I spend on Zoom's good. It has a lot of features that Discord would need to build in to ever begin to approach a corporate market,
Yeah. I mean, Martin says, looks like they're trying to be a social network. Yeah. William agrees with you. I agree that maybe that's the long-term vision. I could see them getting there with gaming. Outside of gaming, I struggle to see how they get there. It ends up looking like a fragmented product. It's half gaming, it's half for the mainstream. I don't know what that looks like.
The other thing is gaming is a pretty mainstream thing. Like it's not like they're targeting. It's like 50% of people.
But Discord's
play games.
Not. Discord's not.
Yeah.
Just about if you ask your own social network, if they don't play competitive multiplayer games of some sort, they're not on Discord.
Yeah.
In my experience, at least.
I mean, I'm just looking at every Discord channel I'm in because I have Discord open. I don't see this user base just hanging out and talking about this is like the opposite. This goes back to the Twitch story, how Twitch realized the general content stuff didn't work. They needed to be games focused. This is like history reversing itself. It's like the whole reason this audio chat worked is because it was gamer first. Now,
but not only that, William, like you and I could probably make a list of 25 features for gamers that Discord could come out with tomorrow to go deeper, monetize better, keep people spending more time there, making it a must-have rather than a nice-to-have. Like, there's so much they could have done. I actually don't know. Like, what's the user acquisition strategy now? Is it the hope that gamers invite their non-gamer friends? Like,
I don't know how you broaden this, because it's not even like they're saying casual gamers, right? They're going to have to, if they really want to be the place to talk, they're going to need to convince me that when I want to reconnect with my college buddy, it's best to do it through Discord and not Facebook Messenger. And I don't know how you guys are going to sell me on that one. I just don't know, I
mean, I personally would prefer Discord. I just don't think that's the right vision for the business. Now, it got them a huge chunk of cash and a massive valuation, obviously. So, they'll tell whatever story needs to get there, right? And it's one of those things where, they may get there. It may be the next Facebook, but I struggle to see that. I mean, Cameron says, could this not just mean there will be more features outside of gaming? Yeah. But they haven't implemented nearly all the gaming features that they could have.
They were already adding features that we didn't need. Like, why did we need multi-user live streams? Like, that has to serve such a narrow demographic versus, you like that? Okay.
I mean, there's some people use it. I don't like it. Like, I don't use it, but I know some people who do. Small groups of friends who want to watch each other, guilds who want to, not have to go through the rigmarole of streaming on Twitch, but people who want to watch the latest raid. But
I just feel like there's a million other, to your point, there's a million other more gamer first features that could have come out before something as difficult and bandwidth intensive as multi-user live streams. Like, I don't see multi-user live streams being the number one requested thing from, the gamers on Discord,
the other thing that bothers me, the investor in me, what really bothers me is Discord really didn't figure out how to monetize their platform.
No.
And they still haven't. And so growth in a new area when you haven't figured out how to monetize your existing user base seems silly.
That's a really good point, because if I were these guys, would go to them and say, okay, we know the thing you can do is add users, right? And 100 million users, there's probably a lot you can do with 100 million users, right? Like, there should be stuff you can do. That's a big database to go to. Why is it? Tell me again. Why is it that you think that the only thing you should be doing is growing? And I think we're past the era of 90s era, just like pump the user numbers. And I like to think people are more sophisticated in this. And it's true. If you can't make money at 100 million users, like, you can't make money. You can't make money. That's what it comes down to.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And their paid product stack is confusing as all hell. I mean, it's confusing. It's mixed up. It's messy. That you have Nitro and Plus, and then you're boosting the servers, and then you're limited to how much video you can put up versus not limited. Like, the stack is complicated. The pricing's kind of obtuse. It's not simple. They have not figured out monetization at all. They're so far from it.
I literally use Discord every day. I've never spent $1 on it. Never spent $1 on it. And I've never understood the product offering. And I've never felt like I was tried to be sold a product. Like, I never felt like if you think of all the opportunities Discord has to push something to me, send me the new game trailer for Cyberpunk 2099. Just do that, Discord. I won't be mad. Give me a little bot link that tells me, I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
the whole bot thing's an interesting one too, actually, because I think there's opportunity to have really simple like bot scripting where people could create things very specific for their Discord channels. Anyways, there's so much opportunity that they missed here going mainstream.
For a while, I owned the largest League of Legends chat bot on Discord. It did really well. It was
really?
Yeah. We still own it at the business Genji. We just don't do anything with it anymore because we could never monetize it. But it was a great access point to users. But yeah, you're right. It was not hard. Like it was not hard to build a bot that was better than everything else on Discord, and it would not be hard to do other things yourself to customize that bot.
Derek here says, COVID has people socializing from home more than ever, so that social space is in demand. Yeah, I'm sure that that fed into their reasoning here. Cameron said UI sucks for sure. Hate how one tap focus is. Cameron, I don't know if you're referring to Discord or Gilded, but the UI is basically the same. Then they both suck. I agree. Martin says, lean into the audience. Why dilute it? It seems like a slippery slope. Again, I think it's investor thinking who want to believe in the $100 billion outcome versus the $10 billion outcome, and need to write a big check because that's the kind of fund that they are. And so to be convinced of the $100 billion outcome, you need more bodies. You need the opportunity needs to sound bigger. You need more blue sky. And if you say, hey, we're going to get 1 billion people on Discord, that sounds like the better business. I think it shows a lack of understanding more than anything. Microsoft Teams, WebEx, Zoom will be the corporate choice, not Discord. Yeah, I agree. Maybe eventually Discord, but
I mean, Discord's gonna have to rebrand too to like Chat Hub or something, and then Sorry.
Cameron says we share screens almost daily, if that matters, on Discord. Yeah, and town halls was one of the use cases of that screen sharing, which I agree.
All right, guys. Thanks for telling me I'm an idiot who doesn't know what. Sorry to be typing, by the way. My Rocket League team just won against the world champion, so we had a big victory just now, which is pretty cool.
I will say, I will report on the results of the straw poll. 2/3 of respondents said yes, they would retry the redone Crucible game.
Yeah,
and only 1/3 said no, and no one said what's Crucible. So there you go.
Well, to be very fair, every single person who saw the straw poll just heard us talking about Crucible. but yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I don't know. Discord's one that has bothered me for a while.
There's so much opportunity there. I know. That's why.
That is a company I wish I could just walk in and be like, give me 3 sprints. Give me 3 sprints of your dev time, right?
Yeah.
And I'll get you out. It can't be that hard of a problem to fix. You have 100 million something. Like,
yeah. Well, they raised money not that long ago too, right? Like this is the second,
and they don't have that many people. They have like 100 employees. What are they spending it on?
I don't know. Like maybe they'll make acquisitions. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Then I shouldn't be talking bad about Discord. We love you guys.
Yeah, we love Discord.
Yeah, we love you, Discord.
Brilliant,
folks. Buy all the businesses that Paul and I are involved with. This was just a test to see if you were listening, Discord.
That's it. Let's move on, William, because I think Discord has felt enough love from us, right? They got the point. We love them very much.
Mm-hmm.
We should buy everything we do. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about another brilliant investor, David Beckham. David Beckham co-owned Guild Esports launches, seeks $31 million of investment. I love this kind of announcement because, and I don't know if it's the Esports Observer's headline that's a little bit misleading.
Yep.
It used to be in my day, and that's this like old man shouting at cloud, right? Mm-hmm. In my day, you announced when you raised the money. not, hey, Paul Dawalibi launches paper company, seeks 31 million investment.
It's like that old Seinfeld episode about taking the reservation, right? Like anyone can take the reservation. It's just like anyone can announce the hard part isn't trying to raise the money. Anyone can try.
Yeah, it's the seeking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just I feel like this is a new level we've achieved
Yep.
in the fundraising space in esports.
Mhm.
So anyway, for his organization, Guild Esports, formerly the Lords Esports, staged its global launch, announced David Beckham as a co-owner, and is targeting a $31 million financing round, which would put the organization at a $124 million valuation. In terms of what's gone into the business, Blue Star Capital initially invested $186,000. Hold on, it gets better. For an 11.7% stake. So just back of the envelope math, that means the business at that time was valued at around $1 million, 1.8 million, so almost $2 million. Around the same time, Blue Star Capital made investments of approximately $186,000 into 5 more esports companies. So they were spraying money around.
Yeah.
And they've invested since then a further $596,000 to maintain its 11.7% share.
Yeah,
so what's interesting is Blue Star Capital, let's break the numbers down, came in at about a $6 million valuation, right? And but they're out seeking $31 million at a $124 million valuation. I mean, this is I need to figure out how to get into this business.
Paul, I have to tell you, this is an announcement that was personally possibly the greatest piece of news that's crossed my plate and has made my life a lot easier. Just very bluntly, I don't talk about too much on the podcast, but my team is raising money right now, and there was. Do
you have David Beckham? Is the question?
Well, come back to that. Do we have David Beckham?
Okay.
Hold your horses. But there was a perception, right? I think we even in the podcast acknowledged that the team market was cooling off, right? That the valuations were going to come down. And, you're trying to raise capital and you want to comp yourself against things that are worth 400 or 200 million. And, where you're trying to say you're worth relative to that, it's a lot easier, if there's 400 or 200 million things in the market. And now there's a perception that maybe, that $400 million thing might be worth 100 or 50 or whatever it is. That makes your capital raise a lot harder. This was the greatest gift I've ever gotten. I mean, honestly, because first of all, as you can tell, the return on the valuation and the initial investments is ridiculous, right? But the better news is this raise is supposedly getting traction, right? Like there are people who are going to do this. And so what this says is this raise, the way this is structured, makes the team market look hotter than ever, actually, because essentially the only thing this business has is David Beckham. Like literally the only thing they have is Beckham. Yeah.
Like, help me out here. Late 2019, the first money goes in.
Yep.
Then they do another round as part of the ongoing financing round. They put another $596,000. So this part of this round, the business is only worth $6 million, right?
Yeah.
And David Beckham comes on, invests some significant but minority stake, it says, acquires a significant but minority stake. And all of a sudden now they want third-party investors to pay 20 times what they paid in late 2019, early 2020. I mean, this is the greatest deal. I don't know how.
It's a hot team market, Paul. That's what's happening. It's coming back. I mean, look,
David Beckham is worth a 20x increase in the valuation of your team. So what you need is a David Beckham.
Well, you can argue if it's Beckham or, what the point is for me when I read this piece, right? What this tells you is the team valuations are still very high, right? Assuming this capital raise goes quickly, right? Because that it's still very viable to raise large valuations for a team. That's one, right? And then the other thing it sort of tells me about this too is that, maybe you could look at it this way. The ingredient to make a team successful, or one of the ingredients to make a team successful, is a celebrity investor, right? Which is great if you're raising money from people who have access to celebrity investors they can tack on, because then their financing becomes a lot more of a guaranteed return. If you have some celebrities in the back pocket and you can plug them in to a business as part of your investment, Well, look, I mean, as we're sort of saying, the only thing about this is David Beckham, right? The only thing about this is David Beckham. If you have a stronger fundamental business, which I like to think we have a pretty strong fundamental business in our, in our day-to-day business, you have a strong fundamental business and you plug in a celebrity, do you get something that's significantly better than this? I don't know. But either way, this is an easy way for an investor to add value. And either way, it's a very high valuation to have for a new team, which to me shows the team market is staying hot,
William, I can see why you like this announcement.
I know you can. Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's on my wall.
If Guild Esports with nothing but David Beckham is worth $124 million.
What are we worth? Yeah.
Your org is worth 10 times that.
Yeah. What are we worth? We actually have
something.
2019. Like
right.
Yeah.
The business has been operating for years.
Now you're right. You can argue if this is reasonable that these guys are worth 124 million. My answer to you is the only thing that's reasonable is what raises capital. So the only news that will be better for me than them announcing this raise is closing the raise, right?
Yeah, Blue Star Capital here, if they close this, are geniuses. Everyone should just invest in their fund. I mean, if you can get 20x by just with one signing within months, I mean, this is an investment you'd want to make all day long. What I worry about is who's putting in the 31 million. It's those investors that I struggle I struggle with a little bit. It's either A, people should not be trusting you with their money.
Yeah.
B, if it's your own money, you're out of your league, go find somewhere else to invest. Or C, you don't understand the basic math here.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But and David Beckham's great, I'm sure, right?
No,
it's subjective what he's worth. Is it 2x, 10x, 5x? Like we can argue. I just in an esports world, I don't think he brings that much value. Yes, the team will have an audience day one because David Beckham's involved, right? So they'll have thousands of people following them on Twitter. They'll have thousands of people following them on Instagram. They'll have that audience day one.
Yeah.
But beyond that, what's his worth? Players aren't going to sign with Guild Esports because David Beckham's involved. I don't think. The team's not going to win more because he's involved. I don't think.
But you're thinking about it the wrong way here. Let me tell you a different story, right? Okay. Let me play this to you. David Beckham, because that's not the calculation I think these guys. I think the calculation these guys.
You think hold on. You think this math is all very reasonable here? It all makes perfectly solid sense. All very rational.
Let me put it this way. I would apply the same math to my own business. Let me put it that way, right? Yeah. No, I mean, I'm being serious. Like, you can argue if it's reasonable. Obviously, this is a ridiculously fast return. Obviously, but you can also argue that people think teams are still worth that much. That if you own even a bad sports team today, it's a $500 million asset, right?
But they just launched, William. They don't have anything.
But here's the math that I think these guys are doing in their heads, right? I think the question is not, is David Beckham worth $120 million business? It's, does David Beckham's name let you raise $31 million for 25% of your company? That's the first question. If the answer to that is yes, and I would argue, I think the answer to that might be yes, David Beckham can do a lot for your fundraising, then you have a team with 31 million in the bank. And then you have to ask yourself, is a team that's well capitalized with 31 million, can they go and get some talent even if they have to overpay? Yeah, they have $31 million. So are you going to join these guys because they have Beckham? Maybe not. But you're going to join them because they can pay you the higher salary than everybody else. So they can start to buy up. So the point is, what this is suggesting to me here is, Beckham gives them a viable path to building a team. You have to believe they're going to nail the execution of that. But is the pot at the end of the rainbow a $125 million pro team? I don't know. But you have to, given how little they have today, you have to believe the terminal valuation is way higher than 124 million to put the path that I just set them on as being worth 124 million discounted today. So again, this is the world's greatest news for me, because this probably says the terminal valuation of pro teams is in the billions of dollars, because you have to believe that. If you're an investor who wants a 10x return on this investment, you have to believe this is there's potential for this to be $1 billion team. You have to, right?
What's stopping anyone from replicating this incredible model? We put a few $100,000 into a paper company. We stage a launch. We get a big celebrity, and we claim we're going to go raise 31 million. And people will pay. You're telling me good, smart investors will pay the valuation that the company will grow into after they've spent all my 31 million, which it's an interesting tactic. I've rarely seen investors who go, I love this. Let me pay the valuation that you guys will eventually be worth after you've spent all my money.
Well, those are some good investors. Like, I mean, it's tough because obviously I'm trying to defend parts of this, and obviously parts of this are very optimistic, right? This is obviously optimistic, right?
Well, Greg brings up a great point here, William. Hold on. I'm going to cut you off. Haven't we seen other teams try to raise in the current market and fail? Like, what about our buddies at Anbox? Why are they not rolling in their $40 million fundraise? Why aren't people throwing? Is it this they don't have David Beckham?
No, it's because of I love that question. Oh my God, Greg, can you always ask all the questions? The reason is because there's so many reasons, but the fundamental reason is the Beckham raise gets to trade on hope and fresh capital and fresh deployment, right? The Anbox raise has to trade on the assets that they currently own in market. And the answer is it's really hard to raise any money when you own Overwatch League and Call. I'm just sorry to say it's really hard. And so the answer is you'd rather own a blank slate that can be molded into different games and hotter properties like, say, Valorant, right, than an Overwatch franchise and a Call of Duty franchise. And that's why these existing teams that bought those franchises are in real trouble, because the franchises are, I think, net negatives on the valuation in the business.
I agree with you completely, William. You do realize how crazy that sounds from an investor standpoint, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather bet dollars on the unknown than the known.
Well, unless, no, Paul, it doesn't sound that crazy at all. It's the opposite. I'm going to raise two companies. I'm going to pitch two companies to you. They're cat food companies, right? This
reminds me of a great episode of Silicon Valley. I don't know if anyone listening watched Silicon Valley, but there's one episode where the company, raises money from an investor who's a bit of a character. And he tells them, I don't want you making any money, no revenue. Okay. Because once you have revenue, people can actually calculate the value of your business. If we have no revenue, we can be worth whatever we want, right? Like that was the entire strategy. Generate no revenue, because then we can have whatever valuation we say we're worth.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like that.
Well, yes, but anyway, let me go back to my cat food example. So here's two cat foods, right? One cat food, healthy cat food. We haven't really done anything yet, but we have a very famous Persian cat that's going to promote this, right? And we have Grumpy Cat. Grumpy Cat's going to promote this cat food, right? And we haven't done any research or anything, but it's going to be really healthy cat food. It's going to taste really good. You're going to love it. Option one. Option two, we've been making cat food for 2 years and it's killed every cat that's eaten it. But we're fairly confident that if we keep feeding cats our cat food, at some point they just won't die anymore. They'll actually like it. Like if the knowns are negative, you'd rather have the unknown than the known, right? And I think the unfortunate thing is it's very difficult. And not only that, worse, the knowns with these leagues come with real, like they can't just stop competing in the league. They have service agreements that they have to do. Like they have to continue. There's real obligations and liabilities that are incurred here. So you would, in many instances, I think, look, am I criticizing no, plenty of teams have leveraged those franchises to do other things and have been very successful. But I think in general, the market is seeming to say to us today, which is crazy, but I do think it's true. Some of these franchises were such bad deals that we'd rather have a business with no franchises than a $40 million franchise because they were that toxic of an asset.
I mean, my takeaway here is if you love cats, don't invest in Anbox. That's pretty much for every dollar you invest in Anbox, you kill a cat. That's basically, I think, what I took away from that.
That's not true. I mean, look, there might be other, I don't want to be overly critical of Anbox, right? There might be great
it's elements. So much fun. There's such easy punching bags.
Because my job is to be nice. I'm the nice one, Paul. There might be great elements of their business. It's fundamentally true that the franchise assets they own are probably not great elements right now. And if that's what you've put most of your money into, it's really hard. It's really hard to justify it, you know?
I just think my takeaway from this whole thing with David Beckham is it seems like the hype is so real right now that it doesn't matter if you have nothing but a piece of paper. Anyone can put together $100 million $100 million plus org, as long as you have a big enough celebrity attached to it.
Well, that might be true. That might be true. But I'm going to tell you right now, this was the greatest gift to the team capital raise markets, this offering. There's going to be a lot of teams that were on the cusp of raising money or starting that are going to get money because of the guild right now. It's really opened the market. Oh my God, we get to do Playbrain.
Yeah, let's talk about another fundraise. Let's move on from David Beckham, because I think he adds zero value. Playbrain, this is from VentureBeat. Playbrain raises $6 million to build up esports in Japan. Playbrain has raised $6 million in funding to create content and manage tournaments for esports competitions in Japan. Japan's esports revenue topped $56 million in 2019, expected to grow to $141 million by 2023. And Playbrain's events have grown 2.5 times when measured by audience reach. So, they're an esports tournament and media provider focused only on Japan, which arguably is not the greatest esports market, but I think, William, you believe very much an up and coming one.
Huge believer.
What's your feeling on this investment? Like this, obviously, you're a big fan of, I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, this is an enormous amount of venture capital to raise for the Japanese market. Let's just start.
Well, it's Bitcraft, so they'll throw money at just about anything.
Yeah, but it's an enormous amount of money for a Japanese venture play, right? Most Japanese companies at venture scale struggle to raise 1 million, and 6 million is huge here, right? It's huge. I like it. It's a proven model, right? Tournament platforms, you sort of know they work. Other people have done them well. The Japanese market's been largely ignored. You can dump this into Japan. I do think there's pent up demand for esports there. The country's just had a big government investment, announced government policy that they're going to promote esports. They have a target to get esports revenues to some stupid number like 23 billion, I think it is, by 2025. And it's like 50 million today or whatever it is. I mean, so the government's going to push for growth there. Yeah, I like it. I really like it. I really, really like it. I mean, I don't know anything about the product, but what I like about this more is people are investing in esports in Japan. And Japan is one of the great untapped frontiers in esports. It's Japan and India that are going to be the next markets to go. They're both very different. They'll both go in different ways. I like this a lot because this is the start of Japan moving. And
the question is, do you need someone who is geographic specific like this? Because I can't even count anymore how many esports tournament providers I've seen, startups and otherwise.
You do for Japan. You do. I mean, I do think it's a myth when people tell you like, oh, you need somebody who knows the country to go. A lot of that I think is a myth, right? But first of all, with Japan, there's so many, sponsorship and advertising markets are so dominated by these domestic cabal companies, right? You really need a local operator who can access them. This business is a media company, so it's going to make money through the Dentsus of the world and the recruits and things. And to crack those businesses, you really do need a sort of domestic workforce. I think the bigger concern I have is is this where the esports market should go in Japan? Because just because Japan gets esports doesn't mean they're going to get League of Legends, right? It might be that esports in Japan means competitive Monster Hunters at your Monhan Cafe, right? And I'm just not quite sure if this is because Japan has very different infrastructure. They have a ton of manga kisa, right? They have a ton of arcades, right? Arcade culture is still very big over there, right? I don't know if we need a tournament platform like this for Japan. Maybe there was a more local take on the market that could have worked too. But I like
these guys just host tournaments and host events, right?
Yeah.
And my view has always been that's a complete commodity. Like anyone can do that. It's like, it's like being a party planner. Like literally anyone can do it. It requires no specific expertise at all.
Well, it's you've done it. How many people in this chat have challenged their friends to a grudge match and had a couple other friends join and watch. Like, you've thrown a tournament. That's all it takes. You know?
No, but here's my question, William. Like, when you have a product that's such a commodity, right? Just because PlayBrain is first in Japan, do they have any kind of moat at all? Right? Is the Japanese piece of it so strong, so unique that they have this moat as a consequence, even though the product itself is a complete commodity?
Well, that's a little bit what I'm unclear of. Is it depends on where the capital comes from. Because if the capital is from large domestic media companies like Dentsu, there's a real moat. If this is Bitcraft putting in 6 million because there's a domestic
team. Bitcraft led the round.
But who's the other guys, right? Because there's no way but if there's 2 or 3 million coming from significant domestic operators, this has a moat here. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
I don't think it said who were
I didn't say. I looked for this earlier today because I'm trying to follow everything to do with Japanese esports, and I didn't see the breakdown. Maybe we should get these guys in the podcast. Would you like it because I think I have a network that reaches to their CEO. Would you guys like to hear from the PlayBrain guys on the podcast if we ask them to come on?
Yeah, I think my big question, William, is, does this a moat? Is Japan a moat? So can you go do anything in Japan, right? I'm going to go be a fill in the blank in Japan, some piece of the esports gaming puzzle that is maybe a total commodity here, but by doing it only in Japan, you've created a moat for yourself, right? You could create essentially a holding company of smaller companies that replicate every business that exists here, but for Japan.
Yeah, Paul. Yes, I really do. It doesn't work for every business, but by the way, haven't we seen this time and time again with every other major market, right? Look at Uber, right? So Uber was going to take over the world, be everything, platform business. Now what do you have? Kareem in the Middle East, Gojek in Southeast Asia, right? I forget what it is in Japan, but it's a different sort. We've seen that it's a very viable strategy to pick regions for what should be platform generic businesses that need local marketing and local media partners to drive adoption, and just wall them off domestically. And you accept the fact that you get a smaller market size, but you're dealing with a proven business model. I do think there's a lot of things you could just do, and it's X in Japan, and you'd be fine. I do.
You think there's that much opportunity there?
If you're willing, the bigger risk I see here is I don't see Bitcraft being patient, and there's like 50 million in esports revenue in the entire country of Japan today. So how much is this one event operator going to get, right? Like how much? Let's say the market doubles this year.
And there's 8 million that has gone into the business.
Yeah, exactly.
The valuation's easily up in that $50 million range.
The stuff I would do in Japan today, and I say this completely independent of having a team, is I would do teams, because it does seem like that's been the building block that ecosystems has formed around. And more than tournament providers and things, you need some sort of stabilization in the partners and the player lifestyle. And that would be where I would start first, because clearly teams are worth $125 million with, nothing. Right. So it's weird to start with tournaments and tournament operations. To me, it wouldn't be my first thing to bring to Japan. From every other thing we've learned about esports internationally, this wouldn't be the first thing I'd take over there. But I don't know. I in general, really, yes. If you pitched me a business that was its X, but in Japan, I would like more of them than I didn't like.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a fun one. This one's a quick fun one, kind of silly.
Wait, I have a fun one too that I want to do, which is I found the list of everything Tencent bought, and it's insane.
Elon Musk roasts Rockstar Games and GTA 5 in viral tweet. Did you see this?
This was awesome. Yeah.
Rockstar ringing out every drop of GTA 5. And then Elon says, who controls the memes controls the universe. Can we just talk about this for 1 second?
Yeah.
We had Strauss Zelnick on the podcast. How long has it been? Like a year now?
Yeah, year.
Right? Probably about a year. And we laughed on that podcast about how he was coming on to announce GTA 6. Like,
yeah,
it felt like that was the right time. He was we knew he wasn't coming on to announce.
Oh yeah,
that,
but
the timing felt right. Like you knew it was coming.
I was convinced that within 2 months of that podcast, they would announce GTA 6. 100%.
How is it that we're a year later and they're still not there? What are they waiting for?
Do you want me to tell you why, Paul?
Do you
want me to tell you why?
Yeah, tell me why.
GTA is not a sequel game; it's an MMO now.
So 5 is the end, and it's just going to be a live service
It's not
forever.
5, it's GTA Online. Why would you disrupt your live service model that prints money every day? Like where's World of Warcraft 2? We don't ask that question because it's a live service game.
I ask that question all the time. I wish that was the thing. Or EverQuest 3, or
this is a live services game, plain and simple. EverQuest 3 I would like. It's a live services game. They've branded it badly, right? They should have branded this as GTA 5 Online from the beginning, drop the numbers, and I think the consumer perception would be very different. But I also don't think Rockstar knew how successful the GTA 5 Online component would be. Yes, look, I would be stunned because didn't you see that announcement that 2K has like 120 new games in development or something? There was that. I'm not kidding. There was a news piece we didn't cover that was shocking. Yeah.
If what you're saying is true, right? And this is just GTA Online and it's a live service forever. Like, why don't we see the content cadence of a Fortnite or an Apex or where are the new skins and the new maps and the new cities and the new things you can do and the new, everything that's in there now is very much user created, user driven. Where's the cadence of content coming from Take-Two?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do think they have some content cadence. It's not very high, right? But yeah, that's a great question. But I think, and I'm oversimplifying here, but I think what's happening is GTA 6 in development? I would be stunned if it's not, right? But
you just contradicted yourself.
No. Because I was overstating to make the case, right? Is GTA 6? Yeah, at some point, just like I guarantee you World of Warcraft 2 was in development at some point. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's teams working on it. How far along is it? The real thing is, what's the incentive to rush to get that out, right? When you have this perennial product in market that keeps printing money every week and that people love to play, right? And it is true. I would rather, and I hope 2K is resourcing more into the online model. And I would hope what's coming is regular content updates, season pass style engagement. I think the reality is they're split, which is why you don't see such regular updates, because there is a team working on 6 and they're kind of caught between two worlds, the MMO world and the sequelitis world. And as a result, they're sort of half sitting in each. They're slow to sequel, but then they're slow to pump content to the MMO. I think that's the truth that explains what you see in market. But I also think it's an MMO more than anything else at the end of the day. And as long as it does a certain number of dollars every year for very little investment, they're happy to keep letting that, chip ride, right?
Cameron says, when does GTA Online get a new engine then?
Yeah, I don't know about that one, dude. I don't know about that one.
Oh, that's the GTA 6 that you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Is it a year away? Is it 2 years away? Is it 5 years away? Take-Two is an interesting one because they seemingly haven't committed one way or another to a model, right? Like you look at EA, you looked at Activision Blizzard. For the most part, they've all committed to a specific model in the way they sell, distribute, monetize their games. And it's pretty consistent across the board. Take-Two seems to not want to commit or have committed, right? Like on one hand, it's $60 box copies, and then you have GTA that's kind of been around for 10 years, and it's more live service, and then like they don't seem to want to commit one way or another. Am I wrong about that?
I just think they're smart enough to recognize, and I'm going to defend them here. I think they're smart enough to recognize that different properties call for different cadences, right? And different studios are suited to different cadences. The same guys who make Red Dead Redemption, right, aren't going to be churning out Red Dead Redemption Summer Edition. And, that's an auteur product, right? And that requires one type of developer and one type of vision. And that's different than the people who make NBA 2K, where it's coming out every year. And that's not knocking NBA 2K. That's a more contemporary, close to market game. It's more about likenesses and efficiency and, fidelity to this sport. But I think 2K just recognizes that different franchises are appropriate to different types of cadence and are managing their studios to that. And that's smart. I wish somebody at EA would realize that not every game needs to have a sequel every year. Like I wish that, then we'd still have Dead Space, right? Like Dead Space should have been managed like a Red Dead Redemption. They should have realized it was an auteur product. It's going to get crafted every 3 to 4 years. This can't turn into, instead it got turned into an action game franchise and was dead after 2 years from launch,
Yeah. And Greg says, this was an old comment. I don't know how I missed it. No comment of Bobby Kotick being interviewed by David Rubenstein on screen video. It was he did an interview where the gist of the whole thing was games are good for you. That was Bobby Kotick's message to the public.
Yep. Did he say loot boxes are good for you too? They're very.
It was an interview that's had a lot of words and said almost nothing, which seems to be par for the course in the industry these days.
Games are good for you though, so we can't disagree with the message.
It's the one interview where I couldn't really disagree with Bobby because he talked about mostly how games are good for you.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Can I? Okay, you want to do something? I want to read. Go ahead. I want to go back to the very beginning and read this list of companies that Tencent's invested in.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I'll put it up.
Okay, here. It's a PC Gamer article. I'll drop it in here. This is just, I mean, I should write a blog piece about this because this is just insane. So I'll give you guys the punchline. And this is off topic, but it's gonna, like, your jaw's gonna drop. So they've done over 300 investments across the gaming portfolio. So this is just the top of the surface. This is like the big ones. Let's go through. Riot Games, League of Legends, Valorant, 100%. Epic Games, Fortnite, Rocket League, all the other stuff, 40%. Blue Hole, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, 11.5%, including, I believe it's majority ownership of the most successful element of Blue Hole, which is their Game of Honor or something, their Chinese localization of PUBG Mobile. Ubisoft, 5%. Activision Blizzard, 5%. Grinding Gear Games, Path of Exile, 80%. Supercell, 84.3%. Platinum Games, undisclosed. I've heard it's rumored to be about 25%. Paradox Entertainment, 5%. Funcom, 29%. Shark Mob, 100%. Discord, Tencent has an undisclosed amount, and I've heard it's about 10 to 20%. I mean, I can keep going here. The list keeps going. Cacao, Frontier Developments, Jaeger, Platinum. It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. This is every game company you play, basically. Like, it really is.
There's nothing in there that wouldn't, like, the top 20 games on Twitch would be covered, basically.
Yeah. And a lot of the meaningful sub games like Total War that you don't think is, being owned by anybody are locked in under this list too. So this is huge, right?
And also a lot of mobile, lot of mobile here too.
Yeah. And again, this is of the 300 investments they've done. So, I mean, it's just fun to read the list because it literally is everything. I mean, about the only thing that's not on this list that, they don't, I was going to say Ubisoft, but there it is again, 5%. I read that out loud. I mean, they own everything. They're like, they're like the largest shareholder in like every gaming company. Yeah.
Can they exert any kind of control? Maybe, probably not though. Right. Like,
well, but how much control do you really have to exert? Because this is a domino thing, right? So the way this goes is it's not Ubisoft puts its games exclusively on Trovo, right? It's just sort the list in percentage. Riot puts its game exclusively on Trovo, right? Then Epic puts its game exclusively on Trovo. And then now these guys do it. And eventually you go to Ubisoft and you say, hey, we're your largest shareholder. We're not suggesting, you don't have to do this. We only own 5%, but we're your largest shareholder. You're going to listen to us. We're going to at least get our phone picked up when we call. Yep. And we've said everybody else in the industry has gone to Trovo. Have you thought about it? It would be a pain to have a big Chinese company become an activist shareholder and try to kick you out, Mr. CEO. I wonder how much we could buy. We seem to be able to buy 100% of a lot of things. It's just at a certain point, once you own enough and you own a lot of, and you own a controlling interest in other things, you can get your way here. I would go so far as to say if Tencent did it right, they could move almost every game over. And it would be a 5 to 10 year plan, but they could move the whole industry.
This is that's the guest we'll have to get on the podcast, CEO of Tencent.
We have to. Yeah, we have to.
Because I'd love to ask that question directly, right? Like, what's the plan?
We have to.
What's the point of buying all these if you're not going to leverage that power at some point?
Yeah. Like because you have to have a perspective on where the space is going, or you wouldn't be buying all the stuff in the space.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to let's stay on Twitch. This one, there's not much to say here. It's just it's a lawsuit. Twitch sued for $25 million over suggestive content. It was more the text of the lawsuit, which I found hilarious. So a Twitch viewer submitted a civil complaint seeking 25 million in damages from Twitch for exposing them to overly suggestive and sexual content from various female streamers while using the website. He says he has several medical issues that require him to rely entirely on the internet for all kinds of entertainment. And he also has OCD and sex addiction, which the complaint claims Twitch made it worse for him. So Twitch has exacerbated his condition. And he lists, in fact, the female streamers who have basically
made his day harder. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's seeking $25 million. I go back to the whole Microsoft Mixer thing. Like, can you imagine how many of these kinds of lawsuits? And look, maybe there's I'm not taking one side or the other. I'm not commenting on the validity of the lawsuit or whatever. It's just, can you imagine being, when you're the platform, the amount of this kind of thing you have to deal with?
Yeah. That's the curse of scale, right? Is when you're a big target, people want to shoot, I mean, the question remains, though. I do think there's, we should maybe avoid this topic, but there is a bit of a reckoning happening with Twitch, and it's unfortunate that this fits, even if this is sounds a bit dubious of series of claims, it fits with the narrative of some of the reckoning taking place over there. And that's unfortunate, because it's going to give, more legs to this in market. But yeah, I mean, it goes to the whole thing. I mean, we've just seen Twitch getting sued left. We've seen all the platform aggregators getting sued left and right. We saw Ubisoft suing the Apple Store, right? I think the new trend, and this applies, by the way, outside of games to everything, is the platform holders are going to start to be held liable more and more. Because the platform holders are essentially playing a publishing role. And I think this applies to Facebook and the US Senate as equally as it applies to the Apple Store and Ubisoft, right?
Yeah, again, there will be, at some point, I feel like there has to be some decision made in terms of what is the legal liability of the delivery mechanism, right? We talked about this with the Apple App Store. We talked about, like, at some point there needs to be some decision made in terms of, yes, you're responsible, or no, you're not.
Yeah.
Let's end with this one. It's kind of an interesting story, William, unless you have something else to end on, but we never covered it last week. There was some announcement that Gucci had done a deal with Fnatic. Now it came out what it was actually for. It's a watch inspired by Fnatic's League of Legends team. It's $1,600 US dollars. There's a Fnatic logo on the 6 o'clock marker. There's a Gucci logo on the 12 o'clock marker, but it's a watch. This is the collaboration between Gucci and Fnatic. Does this not feel like a bit of a miss to you from a collaboration standpoint? Like, there was a whole bunch of build up. I thought it was cool when I heard there was this collaboration happening. They had some of the Fnatic guys sit front row at the past fashion show, whenever it was.
That was kind of cool.
And I was like, wow, this seems like there's something brewing here that could be actually really interesting. I love seeing luxury brands getting into the market, right? Like, to me, these are all good things. But this seems like a bit of a miss. No, a watch. How many? Like, if anything, as a gamer,
watch.
Look, I love watches. Like, I love luxury watches. Okay, love them. It's a passion, like cars or whatever, right?
Mm.
But the one thing I take off when I'm gaming is the watch, because it gets in the way, right? You want a nice flat surface with your keyboard hand.
You scratch your table or you scratch your timepiece. Like, this is just all kind of, and it goes back to how good the Louis Vuitton deal was executed with, right? And how seamless it felt for them to do the trophy case and the trophy. And, like, and this is the same thing, right? It's a luxury brand doing a peripheral piece. Yeah, this is a total mess. I think it goes back to things. I think it's gamers don't want watches, right? And watch owners don't want gaming in general. And Fnatic just as a brand to partner with, I could see like a League of Legends watch that's Jinx, or that's, Annie, or right. Like, I think like
at a $200 or $300 price point.
Yeah, like a Hello Kitty watch, but it's glammed up. Like, I think the mistake here is this is assuming that the Fnatic brand is a fashion brand, and you can put a fashion brand with another fashion brand and drive it forward. And I get how that makes Fnatic look good, and I get why Fnatic might want to feel that way, but I think the reality is this is going to be a big miss in terms of the market, and this is exactly what not to do as a fashion brand. If you're gonna, you either have to have a product that is for gamers so the team marketing it can be effective, or you have to have a product that's going to trade off of the IP that the publishers have, or you have to stay out of the space, but don't do this.
Look, I never recommend staying out of the space. I hate to see brands going alone, like not getting help, whether it's technology product or human like intelligence of some kind or expertise. That to me, you end up with this. You end up with and God knows how long this took them in terms of a collaboration, right? Like this probably 6 months of work or 12 months of work to get a product like that out the door.
Yeah.
And I don't see the value. I just for either side, frankly, right? Like. I'm not sure how Fnatic wins here, and I'm not sure how Gucci wins here. Where, can you imagine if Gucci, and look, I'll plug my own portfolio, used a tool like Athlane, right? Where you could figure out every influencer or micro influencer who resonates with your brand, and you gave them all like a pair of Gucci flip-flops. Like how many people like get comfortable when they're streaming or when they're playing games, or like there's activations that are just so much more obvious, lower cost, higher ROI. Like, I don't know. I'm speculating that there is a much better way to do this than a co-branded watch.
To your point, how do you have the gamers hold up the watch when they win? I mean,
no one gonna wear a watch playing keyboard and mouse.
I've literally never seen a pro gamer ever at a tournament with a nice watch on. Like,
you take it off. You have to take it off. It gets in the way.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
On that note, William, can we share the good news we shared on the podcast about the book?
Oh, that it's selling well? Yeah.
Not just selling well, like hotcakes.
Yeah. So by the way, guys, I still have trouble believing this, but apparently for everybody who's watching, for the last bit of news, the story here is everything Paul touches turns to gold. And so Paul wrote the foreword. He's been promoting it on the podcast. And apparently the initial print run of the book is it looks like it's sold out, which is insane. I don't know who's buying it. I hope it's you guys buying the 10 copies I tell you to every time, but it looks like that it's actually done really well. In fact, it looks like it's sold so well, I might not even get my set of author copies. Like you're supposed to get a set, like a box of author copies that are delivered to your house. It's like 50 that you have to give to friends and family. And I might get 5 because there's just not enough to fulfill the orders, which is like crazy that like 45 books like makes a difference. So they are ordering another print run, which they're going to try to rush out. So it should be hitting around August 4th. But like, I mean, you really should, if you have any interest in getting this book as a physical version anywhere near around launch, you should be pre-ordering it right now, because it does look like it's actually going to be scarce, which is crazy. I'm just like, honestly, it made my day. I've really worked hard on this thing. I know Paul has helped me a ton with that. And this is really good news for us, Paul, because this is now book 2, looks like we can start planning towards it, because it's, if you blow through your first print run, and granted it's a first print run, and to really have any success with a book, you have to sell out many print runs. But it lays the groundwork for us, which is nice. So
look, you think the profit lies? Every week I keep telling people, go pre-order the book. I'm like, this is
that's exactly right.
Not a coincidence here. I'm telling you to pre-order the book because otherwise you won't get the book. So go pre-order the book. It's, I'm not going to keep, well, actually I am going to keep repeating it every week.
Yeah.
Here's your chance. I mean, I guess there's always the Kindle copy, but that's no fun.
No, for
no
this,
fun.
Very honestly, I believe this is the first hardcover book that's ever been published about esports, right? And it's nice. Like, I actually spent way too much time working on the hardcover and making it look good. Like, I think this is a book you want on your shelf. I'm not trying to it's like a first edition of like a nice book. If the book has any legs going forward, you're going to want to have owned it. And the first editions have value, and clearly there's now a very limited run of the first edition. So really, and this is, I will say, guys, like, this is hopefully people will be talking about it when it comes out, more than just our podcast and our network of the world, because it seems like it's selling. So this will be a good one to have to gift to friends, to gift to family, and to, enjoy yourself. So yeah, please. Yeah.
Martin says that's amazing. Congrats.
I get like the nicest comments about it. Like I just had somebody email me out of the blue. I won't read their name, but like I'll just read it to you just because like people do really seem to like it. And I'm, shut up about promoting myself after this. But where's our, like I just literally had somebody who'd read it. I don't even know how the guy found my email. I think it was in LinkedIn saying, where is this here? Like I just finished reading your book, stayed up last night or this morning, stayed up all night, lots of underlining, stars, notes in the margin, loved it, plan to read it again and again. As a businessman myself, I was drawn to things like how companies got started, different pricing models, the Triple E, which is the model for the esports landscape. I enjoyed every chapter, particularly the chapter on higher education. I plan to use a lot of these materials notes in my own business. Like this is a guy I've never met who wrote me an email. It's really flattering. So it should be a good book. And now's the time. If you want any extra copies, I'm guessing everybody who stays to the end of our live stream has ordered it. But if you want any extra copies, if you want, get it now, because I don't know when they'll be, when more print will come after for this, because
you should not even be telling people that, William. This should be the supreme style model, right? This is the drop, and then that's it. You don't get the book anymore.
Honestly, that's like actually what I was pushing for a little bit. I was like, look, all the people I care about already bought it. Like, why do I?
Right? Like, just we're made this many copies. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then you have this like crazy like eBay, people eBaying the book for $100.
Yeah, like Take Ivy. Does anyone know that? Is that an obscure Japanese reference? What is that? It's honestly one of the greatest books of all time. It's a collegiate fashion book, and they did that. It was written by two Japanese journalists in the 1980s. They just photographed college fashion. They printed like a 4,000 print run, and it's like the first edition Take Ivies are worth like tens of thousands of dollars because they're just like considered this weird collector item in the snapshot of time. So if you want a $10,000 book for $24.99, go, my friends. It's seriously, I'm proud of it. It's good. It looks like it's doing well. So, now's the time. Thank you, Paul, for all the support you've given. And I really mean that.
No, guys, it really is a great book. Thank you all for sticking around to the end. Thank you all for listening to the podcast and watching these live streams. I think we joke about it and we shill the book a lot, and we pat ourselves on the back a lot, but we are very humbled by all the love we get. And so, please spread the word. We want to get more people watching these live streams. Bring your friends, bring your colleagues, invite people to watch it every week. We're going to do this every week now. It will be a permanent fixture. We're still waiting on LinkedIn Live support, so we haven't settled on an official time every week, but as soon as that happens, we will. Please tune into the podcast every week. It's we've got a great episode coming out tomorrow with someone from the esports betting world. I will just say that. So we talk a lot about esports betting, which we don't cover that much, but it was fun. And on that note, guys, we will see you next week. Tune in next week. Same time, same place is the plan. And we will see you soon.
Best place ever.